Okay.
GMB Pros, welcome guys. I appreciate everyone that's here live. Those that are catching the replay, I appreciate you guys for joining and supporting us. Now remember, GMB Pros, my goal and William's goal is basically to give you some knowledge that you in 60 minutes or less so you can go and apply. I had a call with Mark earlier. He was all jazzed about the last few classes. I'm really grateful. I've had a good response on people, what they're seeing and what they're learning, that you can go apply for two things. One, to help your agency grow, or two, to help your clients grow. So with that said, let's get some introductions, where you're from, what kind of agency you run, really quick before we kind of jump in. Mark, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I've been a full stack web developer for about 15 years. Run my own agency. Just started doing SEO probably, I don't know, seriously. I've been doing it on page, but I've been doing it seriously for about a year and a half now.
Awesome. Where are you from, Mark?
I'm in Washington State in Centralia.
Hey, we got another fan, Lee.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. Lee, why don't you follow it up there? It looks like you guys are neighbors.
Well, Mark, I'm from Toledo, just
right
down the road.
Right up the road.
But I live up in the Seattle area now. So Mark is actually about 20 miles north of where I grew up.
Wow.
If you've never heard of any of these places, don't worry about it. It's in the middle of nowhere. So my name's Lee. I work with a business partner up here in the Seattle area, and we do mostly work with dental offices.
Awesome.
So,
well, I appreciate you guys. Welcome. Jeffrey, Jeffrey, you want to introduce yourself? Or we have another Lee, Booker, if you guys, or Jay. Phil, you guys feel free to unmute yourself, kind of introduce yourself, where you're from, what kind of agency you have. And then while we wait for them a little bit, if you guys have any questions, guys, feel free to put them in the chat box as Jason gets ready here. Jeffrey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing okay.
Good. Hey, why don't you do
a while to get that unmute it there.
Yeah. Why don't you do
I don't know how to use Zoom good. That's why.
Yeah.
User error.
Do a quick intro. Where you from? What kind of agency you run?
I'm in San Antonio, Texas. My focus is, well, on two things. I'm a commercial photographer, so that's pretty much where I make my money. And I really don't want to any longer. I'm kind of burned out. Just trying to reserve it for the bigger jobs. And I started a review management, a reputation management business, which I want to combine with some SEO for existing customers. So that's kind of the agency aspect of it.
Awesome.
But not, quote, a full agency, just a selective type.
Okay.
My focus will be the reputation management. And then if there's a good client who I can deal with, then I'll introduce some other aspects of it to them.
Awesome. Yeah, great. Guys, I appreciate you. I see more people jumping on here. Ronnie, we know, is a friend of ours. Tony, it looks like he's still trying to connect. Under the weather today, no intro from me. All right, no worries, Jay, no worries. I appreciate you being here. So guys, my friend Jason Guy, right? Jason Guy, we were just talking about it earlier. So I went over to Florida and to the 7-figure agency, met a lot of great people, met a lot of great friends. So the first day, we're at this table, and there's this tall dude, freaking 7 feet tall, it seems like, right?
DQ model.
They keep telling people sit down. That's because Jason, he looks like he's sitting down, he's standing up, right? But yeah, we met at the table. I didn't know who he was, but really nice guy. We went through the 3 days together, and then we're here. So Jason, he's gonna kind of show us Google Ads, from start to finish. I think, give us some insights. If you have any questions, guys, please feel free to jump in and ask. Guys, a great guy, friendly, very giving guy. So again, hopefully you guys can take some of this, apply it, and run with it. Make some money, help more clients out there. So with that being said, Guy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and then jump right in there, man.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. Do I have the power to do a screen share, or can
Yeah, hold on 1 second. I got all excited here. Boom, boom. Now you do.
Everyone's excited to meet me. Okay, let me grab this screen share.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yep, perfect.
Okay. All right, so this is who I am. Jason Guy. I used to do a little SEO course called Rank and Rent for Babies. I was real big in when it was a little easier to get GMB listing live, and there wasn't quite as much stress in sort of Google attacking us, right? I still have a number of GMB listings and websites that I rent out, but over the years that has slowly kind of declined a little bit, and I ended up replacing Rank and Rent for the most part in my agency with Google Ads. And one of the reasons that I did that was that it was nice to finally not be fighting against Google, not to build something up, invest in infrastructure, and then have the infrastructure taken down. So from my point of view, my monthly recurring income was now going to be from client work, running ads. One reason I like this model is because somebody was mentioning earlier, I don't remember if it was on the recording or before, that they were doing, review management, which is relatively a lower ticket. And he's like, I want to start adding SEO to, so I can have some big ticket monthly recurring. Well, Google Ads is a solid, like a medium size ticket for recurring, but arguably a lot less work to maintain than an SEO account. To do it's higher money per hour, at least from my experience, than SEO. You can have less staff per dollar of revenue brought in, and it's something that has attracted me to that model. So although I do have these two groups here, Rank and Rent for Babies, Google AdWords for Babies, I invite you to join them. Really, just follow me on Facebook. That is the main place that I post content now. So you're welcome to follow me there. The reason it's important to have not just SEO, not just review management, not just websites, but if you want to be able to have an impact for your clients, you need to be like the gatekeeper for leads, right? And SEO is a great source for leads. We still certainly believe in it. Like all our top packages will include SEO. And the results that we got for this client included SEO, but it also included Google Ads, right? And if these were modern day numbers, it would also include LSA ads or Google Guaranteed. So you need to have as many paths to the lead as possible. So if you're doing SEO, as an absolute minimum, you should be doing Google Ads. And even we set it up before we even start doing SEO, because you start getting leads right away. So although I do mostly client work, I do some coaching, right? So what we're going to go over today, just so that it makes sense for everybody following along, so it doesn't seem like there's gaps in what we're doing, I wanted to pick one of the coolest weeks that I typically go over with someone that pays me to teach them Google Ads and give it to everyone here today for free. And that is week 5, where we actually build an ad campaign So today we're going to start from nothing. We're going to hit the blue plus button. And at the end, we're actually going to finish with a published live campaign for a home service business. It usually takes me about 25 minutes to do. Okay. So I liken the first 4 weeks to putting the wheels on a car. Like if you're in NASCAR event and you see them take off the wheels, they don't do them one at a time, right? But the first 4 weeks are putting wheels on, right? We build a positive keyword list and we talk about what each type is, and when to use which type, phrase match, exact match, broad match. The next week we build or talk about how to effectively have a negative keyword list, especially if you have a niche. Like we'll help build your negative keyword list for your niche. In week 3, we will build landing pages that will convert, and that includes doing whiteboard videos on the page. They have shown to convert very well. And then in week 4, we would actually build an ad, right, in a Google Doc so that we'd have it ready to pull into the Google Ads dashboard on the coolest week, which is week 5. I've always been the kind of guy that I don't believe that you should just be listening to somebody and that's how you should learn. I think like you learn by doing it, right? So you're doing all of these things in the first 4 weeks, then you apply them on week 5. And then in week 8, we end up repeating it, right? So that, because you need redundancy for training, but we actually do all 5 weeks in 1 week for a fresh client. So at the end of week 8, any of my students should have 2 ad campaigns live and going, right? So let's go on to start Google Ads week 5. Okay, I'm just going to pull all of my SOPs onto one screen. So just give me just 1 sec to get properly organized here.
And guys, while Jason's getting that set up, please, if you have any questions, I know this is a lot of like soaking in, especially because it's over the shoulder stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's so much different, guys, so much different when we talk about it, like, and then doing it, like, okay, that's what they mean, or those aha moments, which I love to have and be able to give.
Yeah, thank you. And so part of the reason I wanted to go over the outline of what we do is to let you know that if in the keyword section, I'm only spending 90 seconds on it, I'm not trying to gyp anyone out of training. Like that is something that typically we would have had a keyword list built of 300 keywords. Whereas today I'm just going to put in 2 or 3 off the cuff, so that you can just see the framework of everything getting built. Because I want to end here by hitting the publish button. Because I think the other pieces people could fill in on their own. So is everyone still able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to start with building a new campaign. So I liken all of these cards to bumper rails when you're bowling, right? If you say, hey, we're trying to get brand awareness and reach, it's going to lock out search ads for you. If you say we're trying to get leads, it's going to funnel you towards doing search ads. And so it's not going to let you do anything that you want to do, right? So I like not having any bumper guards up. And for that, I'm simply going to create a campaign without a goals guidance, right? These are more for business owners doing things themselves, right? It's almost like a smart campaign, which I would nickname a stupid campaign. So the next thing we click on is that we are going to do a search ad. And just in case there's any beginners, basically what this means is that on the search engine results page, if somebody types in pressure washing service. The results that come up next are going to include ads and SEO. So we're going to do search ads today. Okay, we're not going to worry about conversion tracking today. We're going to try to get website visits. So just going to make up a website here. jasonspressurewashing.com. Okay, so
Hey,
we are.
Jason, really quick, I don't know if somewhere down the line, somewhere in here, somebody says, can you speak on beginners ads credit? I don't know if it fits anywhere in here to answer that, or we can get that to the end.
Okay, I'll try to address that at the end.
Okay.
However, you know, when you have an advertising agency, there are some parts of it that you don't execute as much anymore as people on your team do. So I'll speak to what I can on that, but you almost might as well be asking me to try to, you know, build a website or build the landing page. It's been a while since I've done that. But that one I can address.
Cool. I didn't want to
That's-
mess your flow up, or if you could answer it as you went along.
Oh, that's okay. Just for that one, remind me at the end.
Okay.
But keep the questions coming, because, you know, if they pertain to something, I will stop and explain it. Okay, you used to be able to select that you wanted to go after manual bidding, right? You're no longer allowed to do that when you're building the campaign, but you are able to come back in once it's built and edit it and have just manual bidding. In other words, you're saying, hey, Google, if someone types in pressure washing services, I'm willing to pay up to $10 to get. That's what I like to do. When you're telling Google, I'm going after conversions, and a campaign is new, they really do not have enough data to know which keywords are going to convert, which audience, which landing page, which ads. So I just like going manual. I have to put in something here. So I'm just going to say, hey, I'm going to focus on clicks. And for pressure washing, just as a default, we'll start off with $10 and then check it every 7 days and see where we need to adjust from there. Okay. So I do not want to do a display campaign inside of, if I'm going to do a display ad campaign, I'm going to have just a separate campaign for that. I am going to include Google Search Partners because I didn't used to, but this is part of the equation of getting Google Maps ads to show, right? Google Maps is actually a search partner of Google, right? So we now include Google Search Partners, and we add the location extension in one of the assets, which we end up talking about in another week, so that that ad can show in Maps. Okay, what we want to do is put in a nice small location. Okay, I'm sorry, I've got something blocking my screen. So we want to enter another location. Okay, and we like to go into advanced search. I want to show all the areas on the map, and I want to choose the smallest size area that you're allowed to show, right? So that is a postal code. The reason is, let's say we just did like counties. Then we'd end up targeting probably like 3 counties for a client. But what happens if there's a competitor in this one particular area that often clicks on my client's ads, or maybe there's even 3 competitors in this one area. And so our ads have gotten, over the course of 12 months, 150 clicks from La Plata, Maryland, but only 3 conversions, right? Whereas we're usually converting at 15 or 20%. You want to have a small segment here so that you can then say, okay, I don't want to show ads to this area, but I will show it to all of these other areas. So I will target all of these zip codes manually. And this does take a little bit of time, but someone else on my team does this during the onboarding, right? But if you're still building your own ads, meeting with your own clients, then you just want to have nice small areas. And yes, it means you might need 40, you might need 120, depending on the size, but it's worth the investment of time, because what's going to happen is, has everyone here heard of the 80-20 rule? Right? What that says is that 80% of your best is going to come from 80% of your best results will come from 20% of your zip codes. But also it means that 80% of my wasted ad money is going to come from 20% of the areas we're serving. Well, I can't kill a whole county, right? However, at the end of 12 months or so, I'll be able to go in and find where all the wasteful spending has been, and either dial back certain zip codes or kill them completely, something I would not be able to do if we were doing large areas like the county. So I'm going to go ahead and move past this part, but we fill in our service areas with as small an area as possible, and that's why. Okay,
You have
so
a rule of thumb, Jason, as
Yes.
far as how few zip codes we should limit a campaign to? Do you have a rule of thumb, or is it different for each area? How would you answer that?
Okay, so that's a really good question. One thing I like to do is I want to look at the area that I'm serving, right? So let's say we've got an area like New York City. I want to find out where the money is, right? So actually in New York City itself, there's going to be a lot of people that it's got some poor areas. Whereas if you go to Long Island, right, that's where all the money is in our area, or out west, or in the Hudson Valley. So what you want to do, one of my main niches is pressure washing, is you want to talk to the client and say, there's money in this area east of you. I know you usually like driving 45 minutes to get to a client, but based on this demographics data, right, I'm telling you, it might be worth it for you to drive an hour and 15 minutes, because there's a great percentage of homeowners here that make $100,000 or more per year. And that's the kind of houses that we want, and it's worth driving to. So sometimes, even as the ad guy, you sort of become the coach and say, we should expand your area at least towards where the money is, right? So I'll sometimes use demographics to influence the client into shifting where he thinks his service area should be. Very good question. Did that answer it?
That made sense. Don, I mean, let us know if it was good to go. Or Dan,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Dan.
Yeah, very good question, Dan. Thank you. Okay, and then the next thing I want to tell Google, who am I targeting, right? I only want to target people that are in my location. They recommend that you even show ads to people interested in your location. But a pressure washing company does not want, if they're searching pressure washing Washington, D.C., and the company's in DC, they don't want someone in Seattle that's just interested in the area. That could be an SEO guy, could be a bot, whatever. We only want to get them leads that are actually in the area. So do not select what Google is recommending. Select just people that are in, not ones that have shown interest in the area. Audiences we're not going to get into today. But audiences is where you can say, hey, I really want to skew my leads to rich people, right? So a lot of luxury home services like pressure washing and roof cleaning, they would like to have $2 million houses instead of $250,000 houses, right? And inside of the audience segments is where you can do that, right? You can help to get your client leads that are going to be bigger houses, higher ticket, and even close better, right? It can be hard to close a $800 job to somebody that makes $20 an hour. So either don't bid as high for that lead or exclude lower income people completely. Also, there's data in here on whether they're a homeowner or a renter. Okay. All right. I do not like ad rotation. Okay. When I'm split testing an ad, I simply want 50% of my ad traffic to go to one or the other, right? Especially if it's just a landing page split test. I just want half the people going here, half the people going there. So you have to tell Google, do not optimize my ads. So this is another thing that I do manually, that people think, oh, let's let artificial intelligence, let's let the algorithm do its thing. No, if I'm getting 100 clicks, I want 50 of them to go to this landing page, 50 of them to go to that. And so I just have to not rotate. Okay, ad schedule, we're not going to get into that today, but if you've got a lead coming in at 3 a.m., it's not the same quality lead as if it came in at 3 p.m. Another thing to know about ad schedule is after 5 p.m., people tend to fill out forms more, whereas before 5 p.m., they do like calling the business. But there's like something that changes after 5 p.m. You know, at 6:30 p.m., they're just filling out their form and expecting a phone call tomorrow. They're not expecting to talk to an actual employee. So we won't get into like how to use that today, but okay, keywords ads. All right, so these are just broad match keywords. Right, this is not what I would use in building a campaign, but like I said, this is usually the point where I can just copy and paste a keyword list in there. If you guys want to have me another day and we can even talk about keywords or go into landing pages or something, I'd be glad to come back. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to put these 3 keywords in there. Are there any questions in the chat I need to address?
Jason, they
Yeah.
like the Jay wanted to see if you can share that demographic link. This seems kind of handy.
The demographic link.
Yeah, the URL where you showed the income levels, like in the color graph. I think it was energy. Yeah, energy justice.
Yes. I'll put it down in the chat.
Awesome.
Thanks for reading all these to me, because
I know it can be hard to read.
I can't see it while I'm sharing. Yeah, thank you. Okay, sorry, going back to the screen share. Okay, good. That was a good question too. All right. Ads. Okay, so this is another wheel that I would have already had done. So I will talk about one thing that we have learned. there is a difference between ads that will encourage the click and ads that will encourage the conversion, right? So you have to kind of determine like which strategy to use based on how aggressive your client is growing. If they're very aggressive, if they have a nice high ad budget, then you would want to encourage as many clicks as possible. That can even help encourage you to get cheaper ads to show, right? If you're always getting clicks, even if you're bidding $10 and that should be ad position 3, if you're the one that gets clicks, you'll start showing in ad position 2 free of charge, right? It's not exactly like that. It's more like 3.2, it goes to 2.7, but you get the idea. Because the way that the algorithm works is, for instance, would you rather have $100 or would you rather have a 50% chance of $1,000, right? So I would take the 50%, because to me, that I know if I did that 100 times, I'm making $500 per time, right? So encouraging the clicks is when it increases your click-through rate, Google says this ad, I know I'm going to make money on. I want to show this ad higher. I know I'll get a click. I know I'll be able to bid it, right? So it's just like that for them, except they have a computer that can make that decision instantly. I'd rather have $500 than $100, right? So yes, what we're bidding is a factor, but also the percentage chance that Google will make money off of you is a factor also. So ads that encourage the click may look like this. Number 1 rated thingamabob in Texas, right? May start with a number. Okay. Whereas if you wanted to encourage an ad that got a conversion, you may say something like, request a quote, right? Or even just a brand name.
Now, Jason, in a new campaign, what do you choose for a target per click in a new campaign?
So it depends on your niche, right? So, for my niche, I may choose, 8, 10, or 12 just to start. And then what will happen is, after, let's say 14 days, you'll see some data. You can start to see, like, what is my conversion rate? What percentage of the time am I the number 1 ad? What percentage of the time am I at the top of the page, right? And then I can adjust my bid accordingly. I do not ever say, hey, Google, I think there's a setting in there for top of page bidding, and I don't do that. I do manual bidding because I don't want Google determining, like, going more aggressive at any one particular auction. If a click is worth $13 to me at 9 a.m., it's going to be worth $13 to me at 3 p.m. I want the computer to shut up and bid $13. And by the time we've done that 1,000 times, I know how many clicks I will get. I know how many conversions I'll get. So I do not say, hey, get me to the top of the page. I do these manual bidding. If I see I'm not at the top of the page a lot, I'll start bidding 14, 15, 17 and go from there. And the way that I adjust what I'm willing to bid is I see is my cost per lead under control. If so, I can bid more aggressive. Am I only showing the number one ad 15% of the time. We like shooting for 30 to 70%, somewhere in that range. If we're not in that range, then either we're not bidding aggressively enough or we're overpaying and we're like having to be the number one ad every time, and you do not want that either. Although that's arguably better than being the number 4 ad all of the time. So I hope that answered your question. In the beginning, can honestly be an arbitrary number, like throwing darts at a board, and then you're like, oh, I keep throwing low, right? So then you start throwing a little harder. But you almost have to just choose a number, but knowing your niche will be a good thing. And then if the guy's in the country, you can take $2 off. If he's in the city, you may have to add $2 to $5 because of expected competition. Any other, does that answer that question?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Jay, hopefully that helped.
Yeah, and do you have any more questions?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. All right, so how to get the click, use numbers and kind of clickbaity ways to bring them in. If you need a cheaper lead, right, or a lower budget client, you may start with the brand. You may just direct them. I always like these because psychologically, I'm telling them what to do, so they're primed. If they just saw request a free quote and then they come to the landing page, they're psychologically already primed to request a free quote. Okay, these are terrible ads, but you guys get the idea of what we would do. Okay, so in the description, do you guys see a black bar running across?
No, we don't.
Okay.
It's clear.
Okay. Good. All right, and so the description is just what gets filled out in the bottom part of the ad here. So I like having a call to action here. I'm trying to share as much information freely as I can without, like, now all of my pressure washing ads will be copied nationwide, right? So so I'm just going to kind of go off of the top here and say something like okay. So what's going to happen is Google's going to rotate between these two, and they're going to, with this one, I don't believe that you can or even want to keep it fixed. When one starts performing better, Google starts using one over the other, and that's fine with me. It's called responsive search ads, and they take all these elements and they jumble them together. So you're probably seeing, request a free quote. They start with 3 and then go to 4, right? And then the next time they'll start here, and it's random at first. And when they start noticing patterns like, oh, this attracted the click, they'll start using one more than the other. Or if it attracted the conversion, excuse me. Okay, all of these are assets, and we usually get into images, site links in a different week. So for the sake of time, we need to skip that part. But we've got an ad going. Okay, sorry, give me 1 sec.
You're good, Jason. Guys, hopefully you're finding this some valuable, getting some insights, different perspective. So I know I am, and I'm, but yet again, I'm not a big ads guy. I don't do ads myself at all.
Does your agency do ads?
Yeah, I have somebody that does, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a sandbox of the 4 pillars that you definitely want to play in, right? You got your GMB, your website, ads, And then the other box I call customer service in-house, email, asking for reviews, social media, all that jazz.
Very good, very good. Okay, $50 is typically I'll start with something like $50, just in case we do something accidental, like they accidentally put in the entire United States as a service area. Imagine if you have a technician do that. You could spend $7,000 of your client's money in a day on leads that they could never use. So I call this a safety, right? And so in 7 days, if everything looks okay, I want to take the safety off, and maybe I'll go next to 100, but we've got some campaigns as high as 800. But basically, I like to have them ungoverned eventually. But I'm just going to start it at 50, like I usually do. You do well, that's a little advanced, but I don't like to use the daily budget to determine how much money I'm going to spend for my client, right? So if my client has $3,000, some people say, you know, hey, what's $3,000 divided by 30? I didn't need to do that. That's $100 per day, right? That is not how I want to get my client to $3,000. But that's something I would go into when we actually audit an ad that's been going for a couple of months. That's something I would train at that point in time. Like, how do we get them to $3,000, getting the most leads as possible? If you tell Google, I only want to spend $100 a day, what can happen is your ads will shut off at 1 p.m. one day. They'll shut off at 4 p.m. one day. I don't ever want that to happen, right? I constantly want, if I'm willing to pay $13 for a click, you know, $75 for a lead, I don't want any kind of rev limiter on. And that's what a daily budget is. It's a rev limiter, and I like to have that off. Okay. So this campaign is ready to be published. I don't want to have ads going for Jason's pressure washing, which probably does not exist. So I'm not going to hit the publish button. But I will end my screen share and just say, does anybody have any questions? Write the hypothetical ads for an HVAC company if you like. Jay, so
that's when you were in there talking about your pressure washing and people taking, he says you switch it over to, you know, HVAC if you wanted to.
Okay. I'm in an older chat. Yeah, so I probably can't do that today. You know, there's that would kind of be one topic I would love to get into. You know, I would offer myself back another time. Jay, is that your niche? Like you do ads for that, or you are an HVAC business owner yourself? Let me scroll up and look. What do you choose to target per click? Have you already asked me all of these questions?
I did. Yep. So guys, hopefully that was useful. You know, it's kind of straight to the point, which I love it. You know, Jason wasn't kidding. 25 minutes, he, you know, nailed this down. I know some of you asked these questions. Now, Jason, quick question. Okay, where in your Facebook, if they wanted to do the baby, you know, Google ads, is it all in your Facebook?
Yeah, just follow me there. Hold on. Boop boop. Share screen. Yeah, just find me right there. jason.guy.96 is my Facebook profile. Yeah, just send a friend request, drop me a message, even if it's like just to say hi. You know how with Messenger, it's good to sometimes connect with someone. Just be like, hey, I saw you on the show, and you're not a complete idiot and wanted to say hi. I actually love that. So okay, so I actually do see another question from Dan. if it's okay with you, I'll just see.
Yeah.
Okay, I run ads for grass sales, like pellets of grass, for example. I target 5 or more zip codes. Should I test ads that only target 1 or 2 zip codes? So I like having so the if you can have one campaign cover your whole service area, it's so much easier to manage, and it's so much easier to then like dial in later, where you can have 80 zip codes worth of data and say, oh, this ad did good, this landing page did good, this headline did good. Some people like doing like an ad just for this one small town, and then like you have to do a campaign for that, right? Not an ad group, but a campaign, because in the campaign settings is where you do you say where are the ads going to show. So if you do that, 6 different times, it is hard to manage and then audit. And one of the things I'm really good at is taking a campaign that has got data and auditing it and saying, how do we get more leads? How do we get cheaper leads? I can't do that effectively if it's broken into 6 pieces of data. I'd have to try to extrapolate. But if I had one campaign, I can do that. And in fact, with pressure washing, for instance, I can predict roughly how many leads we're going to get based on how many zip codes. So I may need anywhere from 2.5 to 4 zip codes to get a lead every month, right? So if I have 100 zip codes, I know I may be getting, as much as 40 leads or as little as 20 leads from my pay-per-click. And then, of course, you've also got LSA in addition to that. So I like having all of the zip codes that the client wants to service going and not breaking up ads like that. Good question. How few zip codes should we limit a campaign to? Yeah, do all the zip codes in one if possible. It's a code you enter when you set up billing. Okay, the beginner's ad credit. Okay, so the way that works, like the client will get an email and they'll have a $500 credit if you spend this much money. My ads manager, who I trained to do this, is the one that would do that. But basically, if I remember correctly, you just have to spend $500 and then you get $500 credit going forward, right? But you had to spend $500 in a month to get that. And then the next month you'll get that much money for free. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, that's a great thing. If the client has that set up, it's worth the 10-15 minutes or whatever to set that up. Did you guys just start up at 6? There's babies and mean newbies. Yeah, I was just Google AdWords for Dummies, I assumed would have been patented. So I just use babies for all my groups. Jay, I don't know the HVAC niche like well enough to tell you like what's a reasonable pay-per-click. But the thing about HVAC is that there would be at the very least a number of ad groups, right? So you'll have an ad group for air conditioning repair, right? And that's where you'll have all of your keywords, AC maintenance, and then you should have a landing page talking about ACs. You can maybe even combine it with heat pump, right? And then have that campaign running. But then maybe furnace repair would end up getting its own ad group. Assuming just the one area, like you service the same, you'll service some people will go further for certain trades that are high dollar, right? In that case, you need another campaign, but if it shares the same area, you simply want to have different ad groups. And in each ad group is where you put in your keywords, your ads, and your landing pages. So you would, with HVAC, there's a lot to break up. You know, furnace repair, boiler repair would get its own ad group. Yeah, let's see. Good question. Good question. Okay. Yeah, so Jay, you're welcome to hit me up on Messenger. I love talking about ads, so I'll do a Zoom with you for free for 15 minutes. I do that for a lot of people. I don't try to sell anything. I've just found that when you connect and help with people, 1 in 5 of them will end up reaching back out and saying, you know, hey, I need more help, right? Run my ads or do my coaching. So not only do I enjoy nerding out over Google Ads, but for every hour and 15 minutes that I give out, I end up getting a client or a coaching job in return. I'd do that for you, for anybody.
That is true statement, guys. True statement.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Jason, before we wrap this up here, really quick, fun fact about you, and I asked this for the last few guests, fun fact about you that nobody knows.
I paused it recently, but I'm trying to get my pilot's license.
That's right. I think you did say that.
Yeah. So that is a lot of fun. And it's just a hobby, like, you know, so I'm just going to shoot for like 50 or 60 hours and then take my test. Probably just rent a plane every now and then. You know, if 7-figure agency coaching works out well for me, then, you know, I may consider buying a plane. You know, a small plane. I've had 3 motorcycles. I like doing, I like feeling alive, you know, rolling the windows down on a cold winter day. My wife hates it. I try not to do it with her on the car, but yeah, I like trying new things and getting a little bit of excitement, and getting a pilot's license is one of my goals for next year.
Awesome. Guys, we're coming up to the 60-minute mark. If we don't have any other questions, Jason, did you have any final thoughts, closing thoughts?
If you have an SEO agency or even a like where you just do websites, you need to start adding Google Ads to the mix, and LSA ads. It's a great way to get leads flowing in right away, which is something that SEO does not always do. And so it will make them patient with you while you're doing your SEO if you get the leads coming in. Or like me, you can have a lot of clients where that's all that you do is run Google Ads for them. And that works very well for me. So yeah, add Google Ads to your business, and if you need to, you can even sub it out to a guy like me, or like Alfredo has a guy, and so you can get help even if you don't know how to do it.
Awesome. Appreciate that, guys. We're gonna have a double whammy today, being that it's a short week with Thanksgiving, guys. So in about an hour or so, we'll be back with Chris Palmer with Image SEO. So please look out for that. And with that being said, much love, much success, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much for having me.